If there's one thing that really seems to turn us car people on, is that golden discovery. It's that finding of a car that's been buried for years and years, untouched, unloved, abandoned. I think it's a sort of urban exploring aspect, and I also believe that guys mostly love the thrill of the chase. And when it comes to barn finds, that's what it's all about. It's all about unearthing something that nobody's bothered looking at, searching for years and years, listening to tip-offs. And I've had my fair share of barn finds over the years. Look, a barn! It's a barn, it's a real barn. Shame that hasn't got an engine really. But also, let's not kid ourselves. The word barn find, the term barn find, has been totally overused of late.
But the thing is, the term barn find is so evocative. It's a noun. And whether it's in a council lockup, whether it's in a lean-to, whether it's on your nan's drive, it's kind of interesting. But this story I want to share with you because I've never actually shared it at all. 8 years ago or more, my neighbour at the time had a Mk1 Ford Escort on the drive. And it was a two-door bronzy brown thing under a load of tarpaulins. We got friendly and ultimately I helped her sell it. And then when I'd sort of won the trust over, she said to me, "One day I'll show you my other Ford Escort." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "One day I'll show you my other Ford Escort. It's got 900 miles on the clock." I said, "Are you serious?" She said, "Yes. One day when I trust you enough, I'll show you." Well, that day actually came, and no, she wasn't a mad old lady. She actually had a Mk1 Ford Escort with less than 1,000 miles on the clock, and it was her uncle's, and she'd inherited it. And this video, if you excuse the bad quality, was taken 8.5 years ago from when I dragged the car out for the first time since about 1977. I think you'll find this is what you might call a survivor. It is just like it's driven out of the dealership. Alexander's of Spalding in 1974. And it is astonishingly well preserved. Take these sheets off and really show it to you in detail. This is a family heirloom which I wish someone in my family had preserved. This is the epitome of hoarding. It's wonderful. So I'm very proud to have access to this car, which not a lot of people have seen. It's literally been driven about half a dozen times in its life. It's had oil smeared on the chrome, which is why the chrome is dull, for preservation. Look, when I peel away this chrome, there's oil coating all of the chrome surfaces. It really has done no miles at all. You can see in there, it's still got the plastic protective covers on the seats. The seats have barely been sat in. The back seat's probably never been sat in. It's just so amazing. Okay. Now normally people who store squirrel away cars like this squirrel away something that's sort of exotic, I suppose, like a Bugatti or an Aston Martin. It's weird to think a car like this that was so mass produced and so common as years ago is now ever so rare. It's almost more rare than something like an Aston Martin in this condition. What sort of a person buys a car brand new and doesn't even finish running it in? It's still got the running in sticker on the back. Last time anyone was in this garage was 7 or 8 years ago. The owner of the car suddenly passed away, and I've been granted permission to come in and see it and take some pictures of it by who inherited it, the lady who inherited it. The car's not driven in probably 20 years. The chap got too old and had a stroke, so he couldn't drive it. The only visible part of damage on the door, you can see the door doesn't quite shut properly here, and that's because when he got ever so old and frail, he used to lean on the door to actually climb in the car, like so. And that is really the only part of the car that is damaged in any way. It really is a museum piece. Come in here. Come in here. You won't have seen a Mk1 Escort preserved like this. Or really any car, to be honest. It is a true time capsule. I mean, I've seen and I've bought low mileage cars before that are, 30,000, 40,000 miles, but this is just in another time zone altogether. And the fact it's not something like an Escort Mexico or, an RS 2000, which would be the sort of the iconic cars that you might consider people saving. This has just been left to gracefully preserve itself. And the plan is to it will hopefully see the road again quite soon. To be honest, it's not going to need very much. Bit of brake recommissioning work. It's just very surreal to see a car that's so old yet brand new, never really been driven, locked away from the sun and from the elements. It feels great. We're going to get the car out into the sun. First time in going on 10 years. Used to get started up once a year, polished and washed once a year, and then brought back in, battery removed. Still got the original tyres on it, of course, these Michelin 155 ZXs. Still got the little porcupine bits on them. Yeah, there's one. Immaculate. Just like here, look in the boot liner here. If I lift up this cover, look at this. Look at that. It's just like a classic car owner's dream. No rot. All the welded joints absolutely perfect. Never seen any moisture. No accident damage. Look, they've still got the I should think they're the tags for the quality control from the Ford factory on the electric, on the loom that goes to the rear lights. It's just astonishing. It's like a blueprint for anyone ever wanting to restore one. Every single gutter, every edge that would normally have surface rust on it, there's just nothing. Honestly, it really is. It really is a time capsule. I've got to get it out. Get it into the sunshine. Sometimes it pays to be a hoarder. In the garage, well, the shed next to where this car's been sat for so long, we found a whole load of parts, including a spare engine, some new old stock bumpers, grills, and boxes of new old stock service bits. There's pretty much everything for this car, down to new old stock ashtrays, distributors, points, everything. But even down to this, look, even spare badges. Everything was bought just as a backup in case. Because he had another Mk1 Escort, which is a two-door, which was used every day, and this was the extra special one, the brand new one. Okay, in the shed that's next to the garage where this Escort has lived all these years is the collection of parts that were accrued by the owner. So obviously knew the Mk1 was going to be superseded by the Mk2 and Mk3, and he started to collect bits, and I mean like new old stock bits like you wouldn't know. Spare new old stock seat covers in the correct coloured vinyl, the blue. We've got new old stock manifolds, new old stock suspension kit, obviously serviceable bits like head gasket, but then we've got some wings, new old stock doggy bone grills with the tag still on the tags on. Bumpers still in the packets, original bumpers. There's even an engine underneath this rag here. There's an engine in there somewhere. I've had a look at it. So there's enough bits in here to get it back on the road again. Well, it's been about an hour and a half or so, and got an awful lot of dust in my eyes and my nose. We've seized off the drum brakes at the back. Even though the car had been stored with a handbrake down, the drum brakes seize up, so we've had to take those off and knock them out. You can see there's a line of rust where the exhaust is about the only thing that's trying to return to earth, but the rest of it is just amazing.
It's had a huge dollop of grease and old engine oil and wax oil all underneath the whole car from the word go. So it's just beautifully preserved underneath with all the original factory chalk marks on stuff, and it really is a joy to be able to touch. But now that we're in the sunshine, let's have another look under the engine. We'll show you the interior. It really is just the holy grail for anyone who's interested in old cars, especially Escorts. Even though it's not a Mexico or an RS 1600 or anything like that, it's still just so amazingly unmolested. You talk about finding cars and you hear about cars that are kept in sheds and things, but they have very rarely survived like this. I think with a new set of drums and some brake flexi hoses and some of the bits that are in that shed next door, like a distributor cap and some plugs, this thing would run no problem. The only thing I can see that's broken is a tiny little Bakelite washer that goes in the bonnet stay that seems to have shattered as I put the bonnet up. And that really is the only thing that's wrong with this car. It's just gorgeous.
With 965 miles on the clock, I think these, safe to say, these are the original Michelin ZX 12-inch wheels, 155 12s with quite a lot of cobweb action. If I can get under there and show you. I don't know how well this is going to come out on video footage, but it is just so new under here. The only thing that's going to be replaced for certain is going to be the exhaust system, and definitely it's going to need a service, and the brakes. The pedal travel goes to the floor, but that's to be expected with a car that sits still for 30 odd years.
Every single aspect of the car doesn't cease to amaze me. It's just, look inside this boot here. Normally this is one of the crucial areas of an old car which will get moisture in it, it'll sweat and it'll rot through. This car is as shiny in here as it is on the outside. All the original factory spot welds are there, factory grommets, even where the spare wheel goes down in this well. That's notoriously bad for rot around those areas. Remember, these cars were thrown together at the best of times on a factory production line, so they weren't put together with a huge amount of care. I'm going to put the spare wheel back in, which is obviously completely unused. In fact, I'm probably the only person to have ever taken it out. It's just great. It feels like I've taken a step back in time. It's just very bizarre. And you can see here, look, underneath this protective grease on the bumpers, the chrome's still absolutely gorgeous. Come and have a look inside. This is amazing. Obviously got plastic protective covering on the seats. I found in the shed a new old stock spare vinyl cover for it as well. Not that you need it, because these are just brand new. And I can't reinforce enough how well preserved it is. It looks like a restored car, and this is as it came off the production line. Every single seam, every single part of it has been protected with old engine grease or wax oil, because it last was used on the road in here we go, look, September 1977. And we've got everything in here. Look. Try not to get my grubby paw prints on it but it really hasn't done anything. Delivered on the 7th of January 1975. This is great. It hasn't even had its first service. I mean, look. The vinyls maintain its beautiful vivid blue colour. Not been damaged by any sun. All the window rubbers, door rubbers are like new. Dash is still like new. Normally the UV light kills all this stuff, and this has just survived. This is a true survivor car. You don't even get cars this low mileage in museums sometimes. And the chap who owned it was so meticulous, like this here.
a fag lighter. He bought spares from all the regional dealerships, loads and loads of the new old stock Ford spares. He's got a whole biscuit tin full of brand new Ford cigarette lighters. So it's just obsessive, really. This is like the dream scenario for anyone who's into old cars, finding a car in this kind of preserved condition, where it genuinely has survived the test of time. I've found so many cars that have been sat in garages sitting dormant, and they've deteriorated quite a lot. They've rotted from the inside out, or they've got moist inside and all the carpets have rotted, or, you know, rats and mice have taken up residence inside. And this car's bypassed all of that. It's just wonderful to be allowed to kind of be the person to bring it out into the daylight. And the car subsequently went to Ford Heritage to be recommissioned, and they had never seen a more original Ford Escort, which was amazing to have that verified. I helped them get it transported down there, and they did a sterling job, and the car actually got back on the road again, and Cheryl drove the car and clicked it over 1,000 miles with me in the passenger seat. Now I'm going to do another video on this Mk1 Escort when I do a full road drive of it at some point this summer, so bear with me.